Welcome back. Let's continue with our WhatWeb tool. So in the previous video we only saw how we can perform the basic stealthy scan on a certain website. Another thing that we can do with WhatWeb, besides testing a website, is to test a range of IP addresses all at once. So if I open up my terminal and I type WhatWeb --help once again to list out all of the available options and scroll all the way up, here under the targets we can see that we can specify URLs, host names, IP addresses, but we can also specify IP ranges. We can specify them like this or like this. Now to test this out, I'm going to scan my entire home network. And to know what range of IP addresses should I scan for my home network, I could type down here command ifconfig or sudo ifconfig, since remember, this requires root privileges. Press enter, enter our password, and we can see that my IP address is 192.168.1.4, and what's more important than the IP address in this case is the net mask. And my net mask is 255.255.255.0. The subnet mask right here means that only the last octet of my IP address is changeable, which is this last number. So these first three octets or these first three numbers never change in my home network. This also means that the range of IP addresses that belong to my network are going to be from 0 to 255. So basically the range of the IP addresses that my network can have is this one, 192.168.1.0 to 192.168.1.255. This is the range of my home network. So let me scan it. Now, for you, it might be different based on what type of network you got, but in most home networks the subnet mask is going to be this one. Therefore, just the last octet will be changeable for you. Now, before I actually run the scan, I don't have any websites hosted in my home network. But I do got some devices running something on port 80, and port 80 is an HTTP port that websites use to host their pages. So we should still get some result from scanning my network. Let us go delete this and type WhatWeb, and then the range of my home network. Let us go with 1 to 192.168.1.255. So this is the range of IP addresses that I want to scan, and all of them belong to my home network. And the good thing right here is that I can use whichever aggression level I want, since it is my own network. Let's test out aggression level 3. To do that, we can specify --aggression and then 3. After it, we can also specify the -v option to better output all of this. And let's press enter. You will notice we're getting some of the results, but there is a lot of this error happening on the screen. Now, what this error right here is, let me just Ctrl+C, since we're not going to wait for this to finish. And what this error is all of the hosts that it tried to scan but couldn't manage to. And the reason why it couldn't manage to scan these hosts is because they do not exist. I currently only have around 2 or 3 devices on my home network, and all of these other IP addresses are out of use. So let me go up here to see what it found. It found the result for the IP address 192.168.1.1, and this is my router. Down here we can see all of the plugins that it managed to detect for my router. We can see an interesting plugin which is password field. This is something that we would write down, since any password field that we find we can use later on in something like a brute force attack to try to guess the password and try to brute force the login credentials. But nonetheless, this is just a router, so we're not really interested in it at the moment. This is just an example of a test of how it would look like. And since I don't have any website on my home network, it didn't really give much result. We can see right here, Here is another IP address that is active. It is 192.168.1.10, and this is an IP address of my laptop, which is currently up and running. It detected this HTTP server on it, but it got the status code of 403 forbidden. So it is not allowed to visit that page. Therefore, this is as much information as it managed to get. And all the other ones down here are simply just offline. Now, if you don't want this outputted, this red text, you can use the same command and at the end add --no errors. What this no errors option does is it simply just doesn't print these offline IP addresses. Let's test it out. If I run the same command, just with no errors, you will see we are not going to get any red text anymore. It will only scan these two live IP addresses, which is my home router and the laptop, and that is basically it. That is everything that it will output. Okay, so it took just a few seconds to finish, and keep in mind that since we are running level 3 of aggression scan, it will take a little bit more time to scan something than with level 1, since it is performing a deeper scan than just the level 1 stealthy scan. Okay, so we ran this command, and we used the aggression level 3. We used -v to output all of the detected plugins as well as their description. And we used no errors to not print out these offline IP addresses. But what if we, for example, wanted to save this output that we got in a file for some future references? Well, if I type the command whatweb --help and I go through this help menu once again, I will get to this part which is logging. And down here we can see that there are a bunch of options that we can use to log our file or to save our file. So let's just go with the first one. Or we can even use the second one, which is to log verbose output. To do that, we use this option right here and then equals and then the file name that we want it to save to. So if I go down here, and another useful command, once you have a bunch of things happening in your terminal, and by bunch of things I mean just bunch of text printed out, what we can do to get rid of this is run the command clear. This will clear our terminal so we get much cleaner look. Now if I press upper arrow to find the command that we ran previously, and at the end I add log and then -verbose equals, and here I can call the file results, for example. If I press here enter, now you will notice that besides of this outputting it to the terminal, it will also save it inside of a file. Let's wait for this to finish to check out the file that we got. Okay, so it finished. Let us clear the screen once again, and if I type ls right here, we will see our results file. Let's lower the terminal and open this file to see what it got saved, and if I enlarge it, we will see that we got our results saved for both IP addresses, for my laptop IP address and for my router IP address. Now, for your scan, if you scan your home network, you will probably have more devices or less devices, or you might not get any result in case none of your devices is having an open port 80, or in case none of your devices is running an HTTP server. So don't worry if you didn't get any device. This is just an example to see that we can even run the ranges of IP addresses and to test out this aggression level 3 scan, since we can only do it on the websites that we own or have permission to scan. Okay, great, so look at all of the commands that we crafted with all of these options right here. And this is just a part of this whatweb tool. You don't need to be learning all of these commands. You can always just run the help command and read through its help menu to discover what you want to run. We won't be going through all of these options in whatweb tool, since there is too much of them, but I encourage you to play with it a little bit and see if it has any other interesting options. Great! In the next video, we're going to see how we can harvest or gather as much emails as possible from just knowing a domain. See you there!